When you're transforming type, if it's editable type, you're limited in your options. If you hit Command T on a type layer and right click, you'll notice that some of these options have been grayed out, and if you choose warp, it doesn't give you the grade or the grid option that you can custom adjust. You only have these presets that you can affect. So I'm going to hit enter and undo and show you how you can do better transforms with a smart object than you can with just a regular type. If you turn your type layer into a smart object by right clicking and choosing convert to smart object, then you have all of the options that you are used to having available to you. So here you can warp, do really funky things with your text, and then still be able to go back and do it again. You can also change the type or the font or the words or anything about this. This is still editable type. But to edit it, we have to open up the smart object itself. To do that, you double click on the thumbnail, click OK if you see this message, and then you'll see the type as is. So let's say I wanted to just change this completely. And do a long sentence. And as you can see, there's not enough room. So I'm going to grab my crop tool, which gives me some crop controls, and then grab that right one and expand it out to my end of my obviously very poor spelling. And hit enter to finalize. Once I've made any changes I want to do, I have to save this smart object file, close the window, and it will update the object on my original document. This is how all smart objects work, not just type. So if I have a picture, like our car, and I want to add additional graphics to it, so let's go, let's turn it into a smart object. And then I'm going to change this graphic by double clicking on it. And I can open up another graphic. I'm just going to grab one that's handy, so let me just grab this thing. So I'm copying and pasting. Now this is on my smart object layer. So I've just made a couple of new layers and size them to fit over the headlights, and I'm going to change the hue saturation by going to image adjustments, hue, and change the color. Once I've made all these changes, I can save it, Command S, and then close the window, Command W, and all of those have been updated here, but on this document I still only have the one layer. But at any time I can double click on that thumbnail and go in and continue changing the my brain just went blank. I can continue changing this image in any way that I wanted to. So as you can see, it's a fairly powerful tool, and you can have really as many layers as you want in a smart object. Keep in mind, layers are layers, and the more you have, the bigger your file will be, and if your file gets too big, Photoshop might have trouble handling it. The last really cool thing about the smart objects is you can create multiple copies of a smart object and then adjust one and it'll adjust all of them. So I'm going to show you that. Make a new layer, and I'm just going to create a very simple kind of logo looking graphic on just a couple of new layers. Okay, I have 3 layers. I can hold down Shift and select all of them in my Layers panel. Right click and choose Convert to Smart Object. And now I have one smart object, and if I double click on the thumbnail, I'll be able to edit those 3 layers. So let's change the color of this one. I'm going to hit Command U, which is the shortcut to pull up the hue option, and then OK. Save it and close it to make that update. Here's where it gets kind of cool. If I needed to use this graphic, for example, as bullet points in a slideshow, and I was going to do 4 or 5 bullet points, so I'm making 4 or 5 copies by holding down Command and Option. You can also make copies the good old-fashioned way by clicking a layer and dragging it down to New Layer icon down here at the bottom. So now I've got a bunch of copies of this, but I don't like that square. I'd much rather it be a circle. I can double click on any one of these and make that edit. So here on layer 2 I'm going to select everything and delete it, and maybe just make a circle that's a different color. So I'm using my marquee selection tools to create a circle, and I'll fill it in with a slightly different color so we can see it. Okay, so I've made the change. I'm going to save it and close the window, and you can see that it updated that on every single copy of this graphic. It will do that on every copy of this graphic or this Smart Object layer that is in this document. It won't affect ones that are in other documents, but this one that is open has each one of these nested in it, and they're all linked together, and any change I make to one will happen to all of the others at once. So it's a very useful trick to know.